Greetings, BUSN 1360 Software Applications for Business Students. Welcome. I'm Dr. McGrory, your instructor, and this is our first skills project. So a skill review is a hands-on activity. It's a little different than the SimBook assignments you've been doing previously. So I'm here to lead you through that. I'm going to stop my slides and close that. And I'm in pause, and you always want to begin in pause. And I've navigated to content. And if you scroll down, I know you are familiar with, content because you did your SimBooks. You started your SimBooks from here. So you did the Windows 11 SimBook and the Using OneDrive SimBook and the Generative AI SimBook. And I hope you enjoyed those. Now you're beginning Module 4, which is about Microsoft Word. So in Microsoft Word, there are multiple chapters. I'm going to click the Word Chapter 1, and let's look at this. So to begin, you have learning objectives. Those tell you what you're going to cover in this particular chapter. You have some quick reference slides, and then you have 2 assignments. You have a SimBook. That's this first assignment, and please start with that. That's going to gear you up for success because you're going to learn all the skills that you're going to need to complete the skill review. Then, when you're ready, you want to go ahead and start the skill review. Now, what I would encourage you to do is to work alongside of me. I'm going to guide you through this in each chapter as we go, and that gives you a sense when you look at the videos, first of all, of how much time this is going to take. Second of all, I'm going to throw in some tips and tricks that might help you along the way. If you are a true beginner and, Word is very new to you, I'm going to guide you through that, and you just follow kind of the menu options and the commands that I show you. If you've been using some of this software, maybe you have experience with Word, maybe you have experience with Excel, I'm going to throw in some keyboard shortcuts and things like that that will make you faster and more efficient at your job. Regardless of where you enter, what skills you enter this course with, there is something to learn because our course is evergreen. The software is changing. You're on the 365 subscription, which means that Microsoft is pushing out changes, to improve the software. And our book will also try to update. It's not like a real-time update, but it will update to match those changes that Microsoft is pushing out. So here we go. You're going to click this link for the skill review to get started. Since I don't have a login that exactly corresponds to that, I'm going to click this other tab in my browser. Now, I think that as you go into this, you might go directly to the assignment. So I have a little intermediate step here where I have to open this folder. Again, you would already complete the SimBook. Here's the Chapter 1 skill review. Do that right after you finish the Chapter 1 SimBook. That's the best way to approach that. I'm going to click that. Now, I'm going to pause here because the first time you come into a SimNet project, you are going to be prompted to acknowledge that you have read the best practices. I was prompted with that earlier in the first video I created for you, and my computer crashed, so I lost it, so I'm starting again. It happens to us, right? You're going to have times throughout the semester where you might just have to start an assignment over. It happens to the best of us, okay? So join me on this human journey, okay? Now, to help you see those best practices, notice that down here, okay, here's step 1, 2, and 3, and we're definitely going to talk about those. But if you look at this menu, see where it's on instructions? Now, that's important because the first time you go in, the default is going to be best practices. And like I said, you're going to be asked to acknowledge those best practices. The things that I want to point out is that you do need to use the online instructions. We are using ebooks. If you've purchased a printed book, you need to use these online instructions, nothing from the book, because again, it changes. You're going to see that. You're going to begin with a file that SimNet provides. That's very important. My note of caution to you is that that file is uniquely tied to your username. So if you were to even accidentally upload somebody else's file, you're sitting at the same computer or something like that, it's going to probably, I have it set to block you if there is an integrity violation. So that's the computer's way of saying it doesn't see this as your work. That's SimNet's way of doing that. So make sure you're using your start file. Don't copy and paste from another student's file, because again, that's going to cause problems. If you're not copying and pasting in accordance with the instructions, it could trigger an integrity violation. Single space after punctuation. If you're old school like me, you probably double space. So we have to go to the new standard, which is a single space. And then this is an important note. It says do not use the Office Online version. So this is what I want you to understand. When we start Word, when we open a Word document, we're going to do it using Word on the computer. And by that I mean installed on the computer. And if you would recall, office.com, if you go to this website, now I've already logged in, and so if you have not already logged in, use your Southwest username and password. Very, very important. And when you come in, apps, this is where apps located, and here's the mistake. It's going to be so easy for you to say, oh, there's Microsoft Word. No, 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 no. Here's why. You're in your browser. This is going to open the web-based version. And in your best practices, that's what it's telling you not. See that big bolded word, not? They're saying don't use this in your browser. How do I know this is in the browser? Because I see the browser tabs up here. That's going to help you remember. This is browser. So it wants you to sign in. Now, it is a best practice. It does not say that it'll blow up, okay, that there's a problem, but I'm going to tell you the why behind this. When you are using the website, this is what some people would refer to as Word Lite, Excel Lite, PowerPoint Lite. They are not full featured. They miss some important updates that you're going to need to complete assignments, okay? If you are in a pinch, there may be moments where you are using that, but I'm going to tell you another problem you're going to run into. You're going to fight with this online version about where the file is saved. And when you get ready to submit this, it's really going to be easier for you if you are submitting this from the file that is saved on your computer. If you start dealing with versions that are in OneDrive, in multiple versions, you're going to start getting confused. So put a big red X over these three. That's not what you want. You need to install the software. This is the difference between using a website and installing the app on your phone. Same thing, but you're going to install the app on your computer because you need to use the one on a desktop laptop computer, not a tablet and not your cell phone, okay? You really do need to use this at kind of a proper computer, all right? I'm just trying to help you succeed. I don't make the rules. I'm just telling you you're going to say this is not working, and when you start to discuss the problem with me, you're going to be showing me your laptop and or your notebook. Right away, that's the problem. Okay, so install it. Once the software is installed on your computer, first of all, you can launch the software just by clicking in this search box. You may find that Word is already highlighted, but just type Word, and you're going to see here's Word, and I can open that. But even easier than this, you can just double click the file that you save to your computer, which is what we're going to do, and Word is installed on your computer, and it'll say, I'm going to launch that application, that app, and I'm going to open the file. You don't go to the browser, you don't go out here to this, right? You are installing it on your computer. If that sounds overwhelming, then go to the college campus. We have computers that have the software installed. If you're borrowing a computer through the Southwest Laptop Loan Program, take that computer to the help desk and ask them for help installing if you are nervous. But I think you're going to be able to do it. Use that install button. Okay, now this is our first skills project, so I'm really emphasizing this. Going forward, you know you've got to have the software installed, all right? All right, so here we go. I can close that now, and I can even close Office. Let me get back here to these best practices because we looked at these. Now, look at these best practices before you acknowledge them. Don't be afraid or overwhelmed. They're telling you how to download the software. I'm going to show you how to do that myself. Now, one thing I will point out is that if you have a Mac computer, right, versus a Windows-based computer, there are different instructions. So this is a picture, but in the instructions, you're going to see that you have the option to switch back and forth. Now, with the Mac, once you start with those instructions, you're probably going to want to stay with those instructions. But that being said, if there's some problem with interpreting, those instructions, you might have to go to the college, use one of our computers, and just complete the assignment using the Windows instructions, okay? So, you kind of have to make that choice and follow. One of their best practices, and again, best practice, is they recommend that you do not switch between the Mac and Windows computers while you're working on the project. I suspect that the reason for that is because it's not just a difference in the menu options. Mac and Windows computers, the same software, Word installed on both of them, Excel, PowerPoint on both computers. The approach in some cases is different. Okay, so just be aware of that. Again, I just encourage you, sign up for a free PC laptop from Southwest, borrow it for the semester, and you're good to go. You don't have to worry about it. All right, let's get back on task for our instructions. Notice that when this best practices, I just need to come right back over here to instructions. I will point out that under your previous attempts, look at that. I have previous attempts to show you. This is actually one I was showing you that you can correct errors. It was the greatest video ever. No, okay, I'm teasing. Let's get in. But this is, if you, like me, have previous submissions, maybe you want to go back to a file that you submitted, you can download those or look at it and review it here, okay? So be aware of that. Here's the instructions. Now, the first thing in our instructions is it gives you an overview of the case, and it tells you some of the skills that you're going to put to use, put to practice in this. So read through that because it gives you a little context rather than just saying, what is the next task? What is the next task? It helps you. Now, here's a benefit of these videos. As we go through these steps, work with me, work alongside with me, because first of all, when you see the time of the video, you'll know that that's about how much time you need to complete the task. And just follow along with me. Also, you can see my screen and compare it to your screen. Now, you will see up here at the top, see this solution file? When you look at the solution file, that's the very end. So let's see in our instructions, how many steps do we have? Looks like a lot, doesn't it? 13, lucky 13 steps. These go very quickly because everything is really broken down, so don't panic, and I'm going to walk you through this. But what the solution file shows you is what it looks like after step 13. Chapter 1 is a getting started project. It may not be that big of a deal, but a mail merge, for example, would look very different at the end versus the beginning of the document. So how do you know if you've gotten off track? If you follow along with me in the video, keep comparing your screen and my screen. That way you'll know. Because sometimes when you submit this for grading, the system is going to grade, let's just say step number 6, and say that's wrong. But in fact, it was step number 3 where you got off the rails, all right? So those are just some tips and tricks for you. Let's get back up here. And do you see these symbols? See these red symbols? Well, right here at the top, it says that image appears when a project instruction has changed to accommodate Office 365. So remember, this is evergreen. There are changes that are always being pushed out. So 365 means you have that subscription, and it means that your Office, your Microsoft Word, for example, is updating. So be aware of that. Now, I like these on-screen instructions. You can print these, but I like these on-screen instructions because you probably see yellow highlight right here. And that yellow highlight says you have not completed this instruction yet. And each time you complete an instruction, there's my yellow highlight, it will then highlight the next instruction. Now, this says that I need to open the file, and the file, has automatically been renamed, but I need to open that file. I have not done that yet. There's my yellow highlight. So let's do that. But you're not ready. I'm not ready to download. This is that uniquely coded file. It's coded to me. I'm not ready to download it yet, and here's why. Where are you going to put that? You need to be organized. If you are a professional in any job that you do, you need folders. You organize things in folders. Those may be digital folders, paper folders, right? But they're digital for this class. So I'm going to minimize my browser. See that little minus sign? And I'm going to save on my desktop. It's a great place to save your files so that you have ready access to them. You might save them in My Documents. Wherever you decide to save them, you have to keep up with it. I'll tell you the number one upset that students have. It's number one, and it causes bad grades. So I want you to avoid it. They submit the wrong file. I get an email that says, Dr. McGrory, the system is not grading right. It gave me no points or 1 point, and I did every step. And when I go into the system and I see what you submitted, I've seen students submit a copy of the instructions by accident because they named things incorrectly, but most of the time, I have seen students submit the start file unchanged, right? They've saved the start file under 7 different names. They don't remember where it was last time, so they just save it again, and they don't know what they've submitted, and that's the grade. So where are you putting this? I'm going to give you the first trick. Here on my desktop, I'm going to create a folder. And the easiest way to do that is to tell Windows, I need a menu. Right click. When you right click, you'll have this option for New, and you'll see Folder. I love to right click because it gives me a menu that is specific to what I right clicked on. So I right clicked on the desktop. I get a folder specific, a menu specific to the desktop, and it prompts me, do I want to make something new? Yes. And a folder. Now, let's be further organized. Don't call this folder BUSN-1360 because you're going to have a lot of assignments throughout the semester. Let's name it something relevant to the assignment. I'm going to call this Word-1. A best practice is to avoid spaces and special characters. Are they allowed? Yes, and I know they are. They're allowed on Mac and PC and all those kinds of things. But all those computers interpret those characters differently. So as we work in this collaborative digital age, your files will be more easily read. You can communicate with others more easily if you will use really basic symbols like the underscore or a hyphen. I like the hyphens. Okay, so I'm going to open this folder. Oops, I have 2 screens and it tends to open on my other screen. So I open that folder and there's nothing in here. Well, okay, that's all right. We're going to put our file in here. So let me go back to Chrome. Remember, that's the preferred browser. I can see that it's been open the whole time. I never closed it. I just minimized it, meaning it's still open and running in the background. I can tell because in my taskbar there's a little line underneath it. So I'm going to bring that to the front again. I'm going to make it active. Here it is. Now I can go to this start file. In the instructions, they talk to you, or the best practices, they talk to you about this file download wizard. It's wonderful, and it's going to be more practical in later assignments where you have multiple files and if you have large files. It's easy to use. Go right ahead and use it. I'm going to focus right now on two things. I'm going to focus on the start file and the solution file. I'm going to first of all download this solution file because I want to see what we're doing. It says, where do you want to save this? Now, I told you I created this video once before and it crashed. So my browser actually remembers where I saved last time. You may have to navigate to that folder. Okay, so pay attention. See up here at the top, where are you saving this? Go to your desktop, which is where I went, and then open the Word 1 folder. Here's that solution file. Now you may not see this extension PDF at the end of the file name. I have my computer set to show those extensions, but we'll understand that more in just a moment. I'm going to click Save, and I'm going to save that solution file. And my browser tells me it's saved, and certainly I could open it from there. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and save the start file. Here we go. Click on that. Again, it remembers the folder. If you right now are saying to yourself, oh, but we downloaded the solution file, where is it? It's not there. It's not there. That's a common thing. That happens to everybody. It's happened to me multiple times. See at the bottom of this window when it says Save as Type? It's only showing Word documents right now. So it's a filtered view. You may not have ever realized that before, but that's a filtered view. We can change that. See, there's a drop-down box, and we could view all the files, and then we would see that PDF file in there. I'm just going to save my Word document. Let's go ahead and save. So I've saved the solution file, and I've saved my start file. Now that I've got those saved, I need to do the work. Once I've completed the work, I can upload my file. Now, you can upload multiple times. In fact, if you see over here, it says after I upload it, I can click the Grade My File button to submit and grade. Now, different instructors may limit this number of attempts that you have. As you can see, I consider this a learning project. So this is to help you learn and master your skills. So you're not hopefully you're not going to submit 99 times, but don't worry that everything has to be correct the first time. If you make a mistake, you're just going to open that file you've been working on, and you're going to make a correction, and you're going to upload it again and grade again. All right, I'm going to again minimize Chrome. So it's still open. It's still logged in. It's still running in the background, but I can see my folder now, and I see both files. Now, if your view into your folders looks a little different, here's your toolbar. Click on View. Notice that mine is on large icons, and I also am showing my Details pane. That's just an option. Oh, I'm sorry. That's an option that you can said I was. Well, it added that. Okay. Okay. so it's adding that details. I thought it looked like it was already showing there. If you prefer extra large icons, you can really see them now. If you prefer small icons, much harder to see. The nice thing about, I like large icons, the nice thing about these icons is that they help me very quickly see the type of file this is. So it's a Word file or it's an Adobe Acrobat file. You can set this however you like. Oftentimes I look at this in a detail view, but for our class I will most likely have this set to large icons. Now, first I want to look at the solution file. This does require that you have something called Adobe Acrobat Reader. The reader is free. You can Google that and download it for free. That will help you look at these solution files. Now, you can see it's marked. This is what's called a watermark. I'm having a little fight with my computer right now because it is because I have an expired version of the Adobe Acrobat uh, that lets you edit, which is Adobe Acrobat Pro. It's the paid version. So I'm just going to move that out of my way right now. But the reader is free, so please feel free to install that. This is, in essence, what this looks like. This is kind of a boring file, not real exciting. There's no pictures or anything like that in here. That's okay. You know, in the future, these solution files will probably become a little more meaningful, but I wanted you to know where they are. Let me close that, and then I'll close that. There it goes. All right. I need to open this file. I already have Microsoft Word installed on my computer, so I can just double click this and it's going to open. When I first open anything that I have downloaded from the web, from an email, anything that is, not my original creation, I'm going to get prompted with this yellow bar up here, and you need to learn to look for that yellow bar. Okay, it tells me this first time, you can only view this document. You do not have permission to edit it. That's because I have not enabled that editing yet. Click OK. And then, okay, it says protected view. Be careful. Files from the internet can contain viruses, and that is true of Word files. There can be a macro, which is like a little program in this Word document that will run when I open it. So they're saying if this is not from a trusted source, if you don't know who sent you this and you opened that Word document, it could cause your computer to have a virus. So don't do it unless you're sure. Well, this is for our class. We know that this comes from SimNet, a reliable source. We're going to click Enable Editing. Now, your computer may be set up like mine. I have this additional yellow bar that says, hey, there's personal information in this. The documents that you create tend to have your name and that type of thing in there. So it's saying, do you want to change those settings? If you have this setting like I do, I'm just going to X out of it. If you do not have this secondary yellow bar, don't worry. There's no problem. The first yellow bar you're going to have, and you do need to enable editing. So I see my document, and it looks like it's 2 pages. I'm just scrolling through it just so that I have an idea of what's going on. Now, I can minimize Word. You see the little minus sign up here? I'm going to close that. Well, it's not closed. It's still open. That's important. That's going to become really important when we get ready to submit, because that means the file is still open. It's just running in the background. I'm going to go to Chrome down here in my toolbar, and I want to read my instructions. Now, here's where you can change. If you have a Mac, I don't know if we'll be able to see. These are the window instructions right now. So I don't know if we'll see anything. There's nothing real different in these instructions. So I don't think that we're going to see any change, okay? But you would just click over here to change this to the Mac instructions. I'm using Windows, so I'm going to click right back over here. I can see the context of what this assignment is about, that it's for this company, R.W. Morris Marketing. I can see the skills that I'm going to apply. And here's my yellow highlighted task number 1. It says to open the document. It's been renamed, and we've done that opening of the document. It said enable editing, and we did that. So I'm going to click that because it's done. And then this third step, you see how quick these steps are going? It says for this third step, I need to zoom out. When I push back, I zoom out. It makes the document a little bit smaller. So they say decrease the magnification by 10%. Okay, I am going to just click my Chrome icon again in my taskbar, because what that is it's a fast way to say minimize. Again, it's still open. It's still open. And you might be thinking right now, oh, I need to open this again. No, you don't, because you never closed it. I'm closing the folder. Remember, Word is still open back here in the background. Folks, this is important stuff that we really want to understand. We did not close this document. It stayed open. All right. As I look at this document, It is, let's follow me down here to the lower right-hand corner. It is currently at 100%, meaning this is pretty much what it's going to look like if we were going to print it. And they told us decrease, so here's my slider bar, and an easy way to decrease is just to click this minus sign one time. And notice that it was at 100%, now it's at 90%. Now, whenever I do something that I feel is correct and in line with the instructions, I'm going to save. And all I have to do is come up here to this little button here and click that button to save. You may have autosave turned on. I do not. I like to very deliberately save because I don't want to make a mistake that perhaps I don't realize I've made, and then the computer auto saves it. If I'm just looking at this and then I'm going to close it with no changes, but I accidentally make a change, I don't want the computer auto saving it for me. This is a personal preference. I'm just pointing this out to you. So my autosave is off, so I am going to manually save. I try to save after each step so that I don't have to repeat things like with that video. That was the whole thing. Okay, save after each step. Now, I'm just going to go back to Chrome. I'm leaving Word open. You see that it's open. I'm going to click my Chrome icon again, which brings it to the front. Now it's on top of Word, which is open in the background. So you saw Word minimized. You see that Word now is just in the background. Even when it was minimized, it was still open. Very key point. So did we decrease our view by 10%? We did. Step number 4, let me scroll up a little bit. It says place the cursor on an empty line following the phone number. Then we're going to type the following heading, our objective. We're going to press the enter key. I'm going to show you some extra stuff on that. And then we're going to type a little bit. Okay, let's just start out with after the phone number, we need to type our objective and press enter. I'm going to go down here to the bottom. I'm going to click Chrome again because what that does is it minimizes Chrome so that I can see Word. Okay, here's that phone number. See the phone number up here at the top? Well, it said click on the line after that. But I want you to look at how much space there is there. That's a lot of space. It almost looks like 3 lines. But is it? Now, in your studies, you're learning about this button up here, which is called the Show Hide button. What is it showing and what is it hiding? What is it up to? This Show Hide button looks like a backwards P. If you've submitted a paper to your English instructor, or perhaps in person, you might have had them write 2 lines and that backwards P on your paper, meaning make a new paragraph here. That's where that symbol derives from. If I click that, I can now see characters that I couldn't see before. In fact, you might see little dots between words. Those are spaces. Sometimes you can't tell without those little dots if you have single-spaced or double-spaced. I can see these backward P's in many places on my paper. That means that somebody has pressed the enter key. At the end of this sentence, they did not press the enter key. It word wrapped down to the next line. Then they hit the enter key. To Microsoft Word, that is a paragraph, even if it is only 1 sentence. For your English class, that's not a paragraph. Your English teacher might say you're supposed to have a beginning sentence and, supporting points, and then you have a summary sentence at the end of the paragraph. In Microsoft Word, if you press the enter key, that's the paragraph mark, is what that's called. Okay, I could not see that was a single line earlier. Now I can very clearly see that when I click there, it's 1 line. And can you see my insertion point there? See it blinking? It's totally separate from my mouse. I'm moving my mouse away from it so that you can see it's very separate from the mouse. The mouse can be used to move the insertion point, but the insertion point, if you begin to type, that's where the information will show up, regardless of where your mouse is. So first of all, when you're typing, just move that mouse out of the way because it's really irrelevant when you're using the keyboard. Okay? So we're supposed to type our objective. Now, some important points. Spelling is important. Capitalization is important. This is not plural. If you were to put an S on there, the system will mark it wrong. So I've typed our objective, and then the instructions said to press the Enter key. After I press the Enter key, I have a whole paragraph to type, and I don't want to forget what I'm typing, so you and I can type at the same time here. I'm just going to kind of be quiet and type. Let me go back to the instructions to remind myself. So we've typed that. Let's go back to Chrome. We've typed our objective, we pressed the Enter key, and we typed this text. Really double check and make sure that you did not misspell any words. You know, you can make a typo. Make sure there's only one space after the period at the end of the sentence. And then this is a long sentence, so make sure you have all the words in there. You know, don't skip anything. So on to step 5. See how fast this is going? Select and delete text from the document. That's what we're going to do. In the paragraph under the Experience heading, select the text small by double-clicking the word. Okay, so we're going to select that word, and then we're going to delete it. So we're looking for the Experience heading. I'm just going to click the Chrome button again to minimize that down. I'm back at my document. It says we have over 40 combined years of experience helping small. So one way that I can select is to double click that word. I want you to notice that it also selects the trailing space. That can be a little important depending on what you want to select. So with that selected, I'm just going to press the delete key on my keyboard and it deletes that word. I've done something positive. I need to save. I think I forgot to save after that last step. So we've done that. Let me bring my browser forward again. I think I successfully did 5A and 5B. And look at this, 6A, apparently they've updated this instruction. It says check spelling and grammar as you type. Notice how words that Word does not recognize are underlined in red, and potential grammar errors are underlined in blue. So when you're typing a paper for history class or English class, you want to look for those red lines and those blue lines because that tells you there's an error. So it says click the word, look at that. I think that's supposed to be customers, right? But it's misspelled in the experience section. A list of suggested changes is shown. Let's just focus on that for a moment. Here's experience, and look at that red squiggly for customers, not customers. Well, it's got a red squiggly line. When I click on it, Word, and this is interesting because you might think, oh, this is Grammarly. This is built into Word. This has been true of Word for a long time. It suggests some different options. Let me choose customers. I feel confident that's correct, so I'm going to save that. If you want a faster way to save, you can just use Control S. That's a keyboard shortcut for you. I'm going back to Chrome. I have finished this step. It says click customers, so that we select that word. That's what we did. Now we're going to look, it says click the word the in the second quote in the client quote section. So we're just going to click the word. It says if the is not underlined in blue, manually change the word the to he. So you can see this is actually not a misspelling, is it? I mean, it is, but Word could not recognize that because the is correctly spelled for the, but it was supposed to be the word he. Click Chrome to minimize that. It said that I should look under client quotes and that I should look for the second one. Folks, I have to tell you that this is the hardest part oftentimes is finding in the document what we're supposed to be looking at. So you know, you might have to bear with me sometimes. And I'll also tell you that sometimes as I'm explaining things and talking about these steps, you might notice that I make a mistake. I might forget an instruction. If you see me make a mistake in the video, do it correctly if you know that. If I make a mistake, I do try to put a note on the video to tell you I have an error. Okay, so you can follow along with me. Okay, so here it is. It says everyone at the agency can be counted on to do what the says. I don't think that should be the. They told us it should be he. Well, Word doesn't really know what to do with that. So, oh, actually it did. I clicked in there and it suggested he or she. I'm going to pick he. If not, they told us just manually change that. So that looks good. I'm going to save that. I could do Control S, right? I'm going to go back to my browser. So we did part C. It says if the word the is not underlined, manually change it. Well, we did it. Step 6, look at that. We're on, Lucky 13, we are moving right along. Now here's some keyboard shortcuts for you. This is a very commonly used one that you're going to use throughout this course. It says correct spelling and grammar using the editor pane. And they want us to start at the top of the document. That can be very handy. If you begin making changes in the middle of your document, very oftentimes Word will prompt you, at least you hope it prompts you, and says, I've gotten to the end of the document. Do you want me to start from the beginning? Well, we're just going to start from the beginning. So we're going to do Control Home. Then we're going to go to this Review tab. We're going to go into the proofing group, and we're going to click the editor button to open this editor pane. That's a lot of steps. Let's do that and then come back to our instructions. I'm in my document. Click, if you're not already, click someplace. And don't scroll, because I'm going to tell you what, you see how my insertion point is flashing there. If I scroll, my insertion point did not move. So when I start to do spell check, it's going to start from the insertion point. That is the basis of all action in the document, not the mouse. Okay, so to move up here, I could scroll and then click, but I don't even want to click here at the end. I don't want to do that. I'm going to go back down here. They told me keep the control key held down. Nothing happens as long as you keep the control key held down until you press home. Just tap it one time. Hold that control key down, tap home on your keyboard. Okay? Notice that my flashing insertion point is now at the absolute start of the document. You might see this paragraph tab or marker up at the top. Notice that it's gray, whereas these are much darker. That's because that's the header. That's in the header of the document. We're not dealing with headers right now, so we'll learn about that later. But it's grayed out. It's grayed out because it's not actually part of the document. It's in a separate section of the document. Headers are really cool. You're going to like those. All right. Let's go back. We moved to the top. Oh, we were going to open the Review tab. And on the review, doesn't this make sense? Everything that you might need in order to review somebody's paper is right here. I can add comments to the documents. I can compare documents. I can track changes on the document. Look at all the cool stuff you're going to learn throughout this semester. But they've asked me to go to Editor and to open this editor pane. And I'm at a 74% right now. I want a better grade because I see red squigglies and different things going on here. So let's see what they want us to do. I'm going to go back to my browser. I pressed Control Home. I clicked the Review tab. I opened the editor pane. They say, in the editor pane is what they're implying, click Spelling under Corrections in the editor pane to review the suggestions. The text should be organization with a Z. It's currently spelled, in other countries that speak English, they use an S instead of a Z. We don't want that. Click on the correct word in the suggestions list. Okay, let's do that. Minimizing Chrome, back to Word, and I'm over here and they said, look in spelling. So I'm looking in spelling, I clicked it, And immediately it went to that organization. And in this, it says consider, and it's got my options here. So I'm going to click organization. Now, I have to say that this always bothers me that it moves right along, so we didn't get to see the change. If I go back up, do you see that it changed? I don't see the red squiggly anymore, right? So it made that change. Let's go back down, and it's now highlighting this word GOL. Well, I don't think that's a word. So if I go back to my instructions, I did this first step, and it says now the text is supposed to be goal, not GOL. Click goal in the suggestions to fix that word. If the word goal is not in the suggestions, we might have to manually type it, okay? Goal, because it's already found it. See that? Goodness. What's happening to my score? I've really got problems down here, don't I? I guess I need to do some corrections. Okay, we've done the steps. Let's save, because I think we have done those correctly. And I'm going to check that as done. But here's why our score is so terrible. It says, look, you fixed those spelling errors, but now I've had a chance to look at that document more, and woo, is it got some grammar problems. So it says now we're going to click grammar under corrections in the editor pane, and we're going to make grammar corrections in the Y.R.W. Morris section by changing A to N. It says do not. The instructions are key here, and so help me out here. We've got to follow these instructions. Do not make any corrections regarding punctuation. Just punctuation we're going to ignore. If it's something like changing A to N, we need to do that. Note, to ensure proper grading, only fix the issues listed in the corrections section in the editor pane. Ignore any suggestions in the refinements section, which that's where those punctuation things are. Well, this is kind of a tricky step, so let's do that. Over here, look at in spelling. I got a little check. So I've fixed all those. Here's grammar. Let's go here. And it says win-win is always the goal. Now, where am I? I am not in that section that they talked about, okay? So I don't want to fix that, because if you look at what they're telling me to fix, they're trying to tell me to fix the punctuation, either with a period or an exclamation point. And the instructions, that's what they said not to do. Probably what I should have done is I probably should have started at the top, right? Well, let me say ignore. And I'm back up here at the top. And it's, goodness, look at all this stuff. It's telling me ignore. There's our issue. So, I probably should have changed where I started, but it says this is where we should change A to N. It's in the section they told us about, which is Y.R.W. Morris. So we're in the right spot. Change that to N. Now it says I still have some kind of grammar problem going on here, so let me click this again. And here's another one. It says here is what others have been saying, and it should say here are. Is that what it says? Well, let's look at the instructions just to make sure. We did this part. It says a check will appear beside spelling and grammar under corrections in the editor pane, and the review of suggestions is complete. Well, we didn't have that check yet, so we have more to do. I think this is what we need to do. There we go. Now, here we're back in this, section where they're asking us to correct punctuation. And I know we're not supposed to do that, so I'm actually going to, I think I'm just going to close this. I'm going to X out of that. They make me uneasy here, right? I don't have my little check mark there. Should I start at the top again and go to grammar? Yeah, and all it's looking at, if I say ignore, 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 there we go. Now I have my check mark. I needed to ignore all those punctuation problems. Whew. Save. So sometimes, this is one reason for these videos, folks, sometimes interpreting the instructions can be the hardest part. Okay, so I'm here to help you out. We're going to do all right. Click that checkbox. We did save, didn't we? If not, we'll make sure we do that. On to step number 8. Find and replace. I love find and replace. Use it all the time. It says on the Home tab in the editing group, click the Find button. Okay, then we're going to look for the word savvy. Now, we are going to replace that, but I'm going to tell you why they're doing this step. Let's go over here and see. Now, where should I begin? I should begin at the top. Control Home. Control Home. And it told me I should close this editor pane, and I did not do that. I'm going to do that now. And I'm going to go ahead and save before I start this next step. And they said to go to the Home tab. And if I look across over here, I see the Find button. Now, notice that this button has 2 pieces to it. There is the Find part of it. That's the button. I just could click squarely on that button. If I want choices, then I would click the little arrow next to the button so that I have some menu choices. For example, I have an advanced Find feature that I could explore, but that's not what they told me. They told me to click squarely on the Find button. Now, I use this a lot to find things, but also because you can look at your document in different ways. For example, there's headings, and you could go between headings very quickly. You can go to pages very quickly, but I'm going to stay on this results area. And in this navigation pane, it says, if you click there, it probably says search documents. That's okay, just click. That text will go away. You want to type savvy. Make sure you spell it correctly, S-A-V-V. So there's 2 V's. And then I'm going to hit the Enter key on my keyboard. Look at this in the results. It's saying here's where I found the word savvy. It's got the first one highlighted, and it has the second one. I can click on that and move directly to it. Isn't that cool? Now, it did not move my insertion point. It just moved my view of the document. It scrolled down to the second page. I can go back and forth between these. Now, here's why they did that. They want us to see that there's 2 occurrences, and they want us to see the context of those occurrences. Okay, I see it. Got it. Let's go back to the browser. I went to the Home tab, and we used the Find button. I searched for the word savvy. We did that. Now we're going to go to that Home tab again, which we're already on, and we're going to use the Replace button. And this time, we're going to replace the word savvy with the word knowledge. And we're going to replace all. And how many replacements should we get? 2. If we got 100, something went wrong, right? We need to undo. Have we talked about that? Undo is your friend. Control Z. We'll see that in a moment, okay? So I'm going to remember those steps that we're going to replace the word savvy with knowledge. So minimize Chrome. I already have this navigation pane open. I'm just going to leave this here for a minute. But they told me on the Home tab to come over here to Replace button. Click on that. A dialog box pops up. Do you notice that here's a Find tab? So this box actually could also be used to find something. Well, I'm on the Replace tab, and it remembers the last thing I was searching for. You got to double check that because you might accidentally replace the wrong thing. You know, you're so in your mindset of what you're going to replace. So savvy is correct. Replace with knowledge. Make sure you spell that correctly. If you're confident, click Replace All. It says we made 2 replacements. Do you want to continue searching from the beginning? Because I didn't start from the beginning. So I think I better. I mean, even though it was only 2, but I'm still. Okay. It was just those 2. They made 2 replacements. Okay. I'm going to close the box. I can see there it is. And if I wanted, I could even search for that, savvy to make sure. I could search for the word knowledge. I might find that I've used knowledge 5 times, right? We only replaced the word savvy. So I'm going to close that navigation pane. I'm going to save because we've done some good work. Let me go back to my browser. We noticed savvy. We replaced with knowledge. We replaced all. We saw the message indicating 2 replacements, and we closed that. Excellent. On to step 9. Look, the end is in sight. We can see it. Okay, now we're going to use cut. Cut is the same as delete. Cut and paste, but it's different. Here's how it's different than delete. It deletes it from its current location, but it copies it to an imaginary place. This imaginary place we just call the clipboard. You know what it actually is? It's copying it into memory. Imagine if you looked at a picture, at a photograph, and then that photograph got destroyed. You could say, but it's on my clipboard because it's always on my mind. And your computer has that kind of memory. You say, I am going to delete this, I'm going to cut it, but I'm going to put it on the clipboard of the computer's mind. Okay? Select all the text in the R.W. Morris Marketing Belief System at the very end of the document, and it says start with R.W. Morris Marketing Belief System through results with integrity. So we're going to select that. I want to do that, and let's talk about selecting. So minimize, and I'm going to scroll down because it's at the very end of the document. There are many ways to select, and the larger your documents get, the more formatting you learn to do, the more important it's going to be to know different ways to select. If you are a beginner, a true beginner, and you have kind of figured out one way and that's the way you want to stick with it, that's fine. If you've used Word a little bit, I want to encourage you to push yourself to adopt and actively use some of the tips and tricks that I'm going to give you. They will make you faster. You will get your work done more quickly and more efficiently, and you will impress your peers and your boss. And I like to say, and I'll be at the house while you're still using the older, less efficient ways, okay? I tease about that because I have people frequently say to me, you're really fast with that, because I'm done. Okay, I'm done because I'm using some of these tips, and I have had to press myself to do that because I've been teaching a long time. So I learn one way, then I learn a new way. I go, that's faster for this situation. I want you to do the same. Here's what I would say. I can select this and I'm done. Are you done? Okay, multiple ways to select. You saw we can double click a word. If you triple click, oops, I did double. It selects a paragraph. Did you know that? Triple click selects a paragraph. I'll tell you another very, very precise way. I'm going to click inside this word Morris. I'm going to hold the Shift key down on my keyboard. And if I use my arrows, see how precise that is? As long as I right arrow, I'm selecting. And if I left arrow, I'm deselecting what I just selected until I start selecting to the left. We'll do more of that later. If I'm blowing your mind right now, just say that's okay. The question you're asking is, how did you select so fast? Okay, I have to tell you this because the software that I use to capture my screen is going to change my mouse. So it doesn't allow me to show you something. So I want you to listen to what I'm telling you and do this on your screen. I want you to take your mouse, which probably is in the shape of what's called the I-beam right now. The thing about the I-beam is that when you click, it moves your insertion point, and that's great. And you're familiar with the mouse when you move it off to, for example, the right, or let's just move it to a menu. When you move it up here to a menu, look at the direction that the mouse is pointing. It kind of leans to the left a little bit, doesn't it? That's what we're used to with the mouse. It just naturally kind of arcs over to the left. Now, I want you to put your mouse, and again, on the video, it's not showing correctly. Okay, it is actually on my screen as I perform this task. Do you notice that when you put your mouse in the margin, this grayed out part, if you don't see this ruler, what you can do is click View and then see this little area for ruler. you want it checked. And that way you can see the ruler. Okay? And what that ruler shows you is this bright area, this white area is the it's the part you type in on the paper. When you're in the gray area on either side, this is the margin. So for example, like a 1-inch margin on your paper. When my mouse is in the margin next to text, it points to the right. And when I press, if I click, it selects just that line. Even if it's in a paragraph, even if it's in the middle of a paragraph, when I put my mouse next to that, it selected just that line. Well, I'm sorry, this menu keeps popping up, it's driving me crazy. If I put my mouse in the margin next to the R.W. Morris Marketing Belief System, I press my mouse button down and hold it down while I'm dragging my hand and then release. It selected everything from this starting point to this very ending point. So that was a very fast way of selecting. If you are struggling with that, I have one more tip that I use very frequently. I'm going to click someplace else because I don't want that selected, because I'm going to show you one more way to select. These are all important. We'll revisit these frequently throughout the class. I'm going to click so that my insertion point is blinking before the T in the R.W. Morris. I am going to hold the Shift key down on my keyboard because we already know that the Shift key allows us to select text. Now I'm going to move my mouse to the very end so that, remember, the last thing we select is results with integrity, and I'm going to click slightly to the right of integrity. What did that Shift key do? You can let up off the Shift key now. What the Shift key did is it said select everything from the starting point to the ending point. This works in many situations. We will talk about it more throughout the semester. It is very, very precise, and it's very helpful in different situations. So just that one command to select, you've got many options now. And depending on your skill level in Word, I hope you pick one of those and amp it up a notch, level up, so that you're constantly improving your efficiency. I should mention that is important. I don't care what field of business you are in. Having that level of efficiency is important to your success. Okay. All right. So I was supposed to select that. There we go. I've got it selected. Let's go back to our instructions. And the one thing we can definitely say is we have selected. So we're done with 9A. On the Home tab in the Clipboard group, this is where we're going to cut to remove the text, and it virtually copies it to the clipboard. What we're going to do is then we're going to navigate back to the first page and place the cursor at the beginning of client quotes. So at the very beginning, before the C in client quotes. Then on the Home tab, we're going to paste the text. It says we might, if that client quotes ends up combined with what we're pasting, we might have to press the Enter key because it should be on its own line. Okay. Then minimize. We've got our text selected and we're going to client quotes. We have this. Now, here's what they want you to do. They want you to go to the Home tab. You see how this takes me a minute to go up here to Home? They want me to use the scissors. And if you're a beginner, that's great, and I want you to do that. When you click those scissors, the text is going to disappear. But if you're just a little beyond that, I want you to not use those scissors. I want you to use the keyboard command. The keyboard command is Control. We've been using X or Shift. And we're going to see that little CTRL button. It's normally in the lower left corner of your keyboard, or somewhere on this alongside the space bar. Hold the control key down. You can push it down, you can keep it held down, nothing is happening. Just lightly tap X with the control key held down. That is cut. Every time you lift your hands on and off the keyboard, you're getting off of home row. You're subject to errors, and it's time consuming because you have to look again. If you are one of these hunting peckers, I understand, but you're still having to go back and forth to your mouse, right? That not efficient, not efficient. So let's learn some of these keyboard commands. That was Control X. Now they asked me to go up before client quotes. I need to click before the C in client quotes to move my insertion point there. And they told me to go to home and to click the paste button. The first thing I want you to notice is that the paste button has two parts. This has become more important in just the last couple weeks because in the past, a month ago, if I did paste just by clicking on the paste button or using the keyboard commands, the formatting from wherever I copied would come with me. That formatting would stay. Now, if you're going between documents, it tends to lose that formatting. So we have a lot of options in terms of how we paste that you may want to become familiar with, but right now they did not ask us to do any of that. So I'm just clicking away someplace safe, like in this big area here, so that, whoops, and I accidentally selected, so that I get rid of that button. Remember, I need to have clicked before the C in client quotes. And I want you to use the keyboard shortcut for paste. It is not the letter P. It is not. You're going to hold down the control key. Remember, nothing happens. You keep that control key held down. Instead, you are going to use V for victory. V for victory. It is victorious to paste. So we are going to control V to paste. Do you know why it's not the letter P? Because control P is for printing. If you are on a web page, if you are in something and you say, I don't see an option to print, do control P, and that will bring up your print dialog box. Okay, if printed, I do need to make sure that client quotes is on a line by itself, and it is. This looks pretty good. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to go ahead and do Control S for save, but I just saved Control S. Here's my browser again. We have cut, we navigated, and we pasted. And we did not, it was not necessary to press the enter key, unless for you it was. So you want to make sure that's on its own line. Viewing statistics in our document. You have that English professor, you have that history professor who says, I need this many words, this many page document. And so we're going to look at some of those statistics. It says to click the Review tab. Then we're going to go to the Proofing group and look at word count. And we're going to look at some other things. We're going to review the number of pages, the number of words, how many paragraphs we have, and then we're going to close that dialog box. This is super cool. You're going to like this. Okay, I'm going to minimize my browser. And I don't necessarily need to be any place in the document, but I am looking across. Remember review? We were here a little bit ago because we looked at the editor pane and we checked our spelling and grammar using the editor pane. You see a spelling and grammar button there also. You also see this word count. There's thesaurus, but you see word count. I'm going to click word count. That's what they asked us to do. Look at this nice box. This is so informational. It says that it's 2 pages and it tells us that there's 297 words. But do you know what? You already knew that. Because if you look down here, and this, by the way, is customizable, so yours may or may not already be showing this, but your page numbers for sure should be showing here. It tells us which page our insertion point is on, page 2, of how many pages, of 2 pages. Okay, so it kind of helps us know where we are, how many words in the document. 297 words. That agrees with up here. How many characters? Folks, if you are ever trying to get something published in, even on a website, okay, and they have limited space, and they will tell you readers are only going to see this much of it. They'll only see 1,000 characters. You may then say with spaces or without spaces, because it makes a big difference. They may say no, 1,000 characters including spaces. So you're like, oh my goodness, I got to cut 864 spaces so it'll fit in the allotted area, right? How many paragraphs? Your instructor may want a certain number of paragraphs, how many lines that you have, and do you want it to count things like your footnotes and endnotes and that type of thing. So great information. I'm going to close that. How did we do that? Review tab. This is also where we found the editor, and we went over here to word count. Cool. I don't think we've changed anything, so I'm just going to go back to my browser. But we looked at the review tab, we looked at word count, and we looked at all those cool statistics. Now it does say to save and close the document. So this is where I am telling you it is important, because the steps after this tell us to upload, and you do not want to try or to succeed in uploading a file that is open. Bad, bad, bad. First of all, I believe you're going to get an error. I believe when you're trying to upload that document, you're going to email me and say, every time I try to upload the document, I get an error because it's still open. And you say, no, but it's, I closed it. No. Look down here in my taskbar. Do you see that there is a small line underneath the Word icon? That means something is open. It means Word is open. It means my document is open. So I want that closed. It has got to be closed. My recommendation to you, years of teaching this, folks, years of teaching. My recommendation to you, let's go back over here. First of all, save. Control S, hit the floppy disk. Oh, that's what that's a symbol of. You probably don't even know what that is, but that's what that's a symbol of. Okay, and the next thing you're going to do is the X. If you would prefer to say file and then close, you can do that, but that's a lot of steps, so we're just going to click X. When I look down in my taskbar, I don't even see Word. Now, if you have Microsoft Word pinned, if somebody pinned it to this taskbar, like I have other things here that I use frequently, and so they are always pinned to my taskbar, that's fine. You may see Word pinned to your taskbar. It should not have a little line under it. If it has a little line under it, it means something is still open, and that you do not want to try to submit with it open. You need to have it saved. You need to have it closed. All right, very important. I saved and closed. It's time to upload now. So I'm going to scroll back up to the top because we do it all from the same page. Remember, we downloaded the start file and we looked at the solution. We did all of our work. Now it's time to upload. So where is it? I can't upload it unless I know where it's at. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to click on that upload button. And now, again, I had the tragic video crash of the greatest folks, it was the beautiful, it really was the most beautiful video ever. I wish I could share it with you. But alas, we can't. We all make mistakes, don't we? We all make mistakes. Okay, so it remembers. My point was it remembers the Word one folder that was on my desktop. If your computer does not know where you saved your document, which it probably doesn't, you may need to navigate. You've got desktop over here, you've got downloads folder, you got your documents folder. Navigate to where you saved the file that you completed. Now, in my particular window, I can even see when it was modified, and this is correct. Remember I said you could change the view? You can even change it here. So you could go to large icons. I like to see the details because I want to make sure, yeah, this is exactly the document that I'm working on. Select that and open. Oh, and again, if you don't see .docx or if you don't see .pdf, that is very normal. I have my computer configured so that I can see that. Select it, open. Be patient, okay, for it to upload. I say that this document is pretty small. As we progress through the semester, we're going to be uploading Excel files and PowerPoint files, and they can be larger and they may take time, especially if something has pictures in it, like some of our later Word documents. Be patient. It may take time. Now it's saying, are you just uploading it, but you're not ready to grade it, or you want to go ahead and submit it? We're ready for grading. We're going to go ahead and submit the file. It's grading it. I mean, like that. You know, if you emailed me this thing at 10 o'clock at night, you're not getting that grade, right? In the olden days, I would take a week to grade everybody's paper and to get it back. You get this response immediately. Yay! Look, this is the best part. You have to celebrate. Now, I want you to celebrate. When you get that 100%, I want you to celebrate. And I want to encourage you. This is special now. Always get 90% or above, because I want you to work towards a digital badge. A digital badge. Do you know a lot of people say they know certain skills and they don't? But you know what? It's not even that. You know certain things about Word. But if I know Word and you know Word and somebody else knows Word, what do we know? The digital badge helps employers understand what you know. One of the great places to display that digital badge is on LinkedIn. I really want to encourage that, and I have instructions in our course on how to do that. You want to kind of brag, okay? You want to have those digital badges displayed so that you can prove that you know these things. Okay, so 100%, that's fantastic. I want to show you what you see, and I also want to show you what to do if you have errors. The first thing I want you to see is that as you scroll down, there's a little legend here, and it says green checks if things are correct. If only part of it is correct, you'll see partial. If it's not correct, then you're going to see red, okay? And this is important. This is the solution file. Once again, this is a picture of the solution, and this is what they're showing you, all right? Now, right now it's not that pretty, but later on, again, you're going to have pictures, you're going to have tables, and this means all 13 steps in this case are done. If you're following along with me in the video, you hopefully spotted any errors earlier on. There's not much to look at right now because we got 100%. So I'm going to do it again what I did in the previous video and make a mistake so that we can correct it. I'll also point out, download your submitted file, download the solution file. If you see a 1% over here, download that file, because I guarantee you have just uploaded a file that you did not make any changes to. In other words, you uploaded the wrong file, right? So, you can download the file, you submit it. Why else would you want to do that? Well, maybe you were working on this at home and now you're at school and you want to work on it a little bit more. You can download that file and start working on it a little bit more. Okay, we have our file downloaded though, right? I mean, we still have it. I'm going to minimize Chrome. It's in that folder. You see how important it is to know where this is? Double click that to open it and just do some more work in this file. If you made a mistake, let's just fix it. Now remember, it should remember that we enabled editing, but I had this personal information thing. Just close that. Okay, let's make a mistake. Let's say when I was supposed to type our objective, that I didn't capitalize this O, and in fact I just typed our object. Or no, I'm just going to leave that, and let's see what happens with the capitalization. And let's make another change. Let's maybe when okay, I'm going to do another replace. Remember that word knowledge that we replaced? Find knowledge, and we're going to misspell it. Maybe I forgot. I'm just going to say we know lead, right? And I'm going to replace all. Two replacements, that kind of makes sense. Close. And I'm going to save. And I'm going to close my document. I'm going to close it. X out. X out. Okay, there it is. Now, I close the folder because I don't need the folder, anymore. I'm going right back to Chrome. And let's just go back. Now, this is my demonstration course. So I'm going to, how can I navigate back here? And you might have to kind of work around on this to get back to the assignment. And I don't have to download again. You do not need to do that. Just go straight on over here to upload my file. And it, again, it remembers where I was, but if not, I need to navigate, right? Click to select, open. Yes, I want it to grade. Oh, it's taking a minute this time. Okay, now I got a 90% this time. That's good. I also encourage you to look at the syllabus and look at some of your grade options for those percentages. Again, I encourage 90% or above. Oh, look over here. I've got, it looks like 8 problems. I need to expand that and it will tell me about this. It says click replace all to replace both instances of the word. Goodness, what is going on here? Text, communication. Um, okay. It's looking, okay, see, this, I'm glad we did this. Look, it says, here's the text I was looking for. I was looking for communication, organization, and technical knowledge are skills we value. And we could not find that text. It says, so there's a problem. It cannot exactly understand, but it's saying the problem is in this area. So we're going to have to troubleshoot that a little bit. Okay, I guess I lost, what did I lose? 8 points for that? Now, I'm scrolling down in this picture and look here. If I have something wrong, it's telling me here's where it sees a problem. And so, you know what? That was probably not even, I don't know if Savvy was there before. Well, it probably was. It probably was. But it's saying here's where I see the problem. Now, I don't think it found the earlier error. It seems to have only found that one. Okay, here, so this is what I want you to take away from this. It has identified the problem. There is a problem with that word knowledge because it couldn't find that. So it's pointing us in the right direction. Now, with this, you just want to kind of take some time because troubleshooting is really kind of part of the process. This was probably a more difficult example than what I, probably should have demonstrated. But notice it did not have an issue with objective, with that lowercase o. I am stunned by that. I would not encourage you to tempt fate, though. Okay, what I think, this is obviously a problem, and I'm going to have to go back and fix it. So let me go back to my. Oh, it timed me out. Okay, that could happen. Let me log back in. Okay, I had to log in again. Oops, I'm going to minimize this. And I'm going to go back to my Word document and I'm going to open it again because remember it was closed. And I'm going to close this thing here. Now, I don't trust this lowercase o, but we'll leave it there. I see red squiggles and I know that's, not right. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to change that to knowledge because I can just see that there's something wrong there. In the feedback that I received, it told me this was the problem. In fact, what if I did this? I'm going to undo, Control Z, undo, and I'm going to leave that one so that it's not right. And I'm going to change this one. I'm really doing this with you folks so that you can kind of see, and hopefully this will help you navigate the system. I realize the video is getting a little long at this point, so I am about to wrap up, but I want you to kind of see this troubleshooting process because you might have to do this, okay? Hopefully if you follow along with me, hopefully we'll have some really high scores, right? And we'll learn a lot along the way. I revised that document. I'm uploading it again. I'm going to get that immediate grade again because I want you to learn. This is a skill review. I want you to learn. All right, I'm better. I'm at 95, but I still have a problem. And see, and it's actually telling me it understands that that one is correct now. So it's having a hard time finding, but it is telling me this text I am not finding communication, organization, and technical knowledge. So one thing I think I might want to do, I'm going to give you this last suggestion, okay? It said it could not find that text. So let me open this again. And you know now how to use this searching feature, right? So it said it could not find, I remember the word communication. And look, it said there's something wrong here. So it pointed me to where the problem was. It pointed me there. Now that I know, I can change that because there was that red squiggly, so it was a glaring error. So, okay, so I'm going to save this. I'm going to close. I'm Xing it out. I'm going back into my browser. I'm going to upload again. Well, how about that? And we are at our 100. There's no markers on this. We know that we did not capitalize that O in objective. It did not catch us on that. I cannot promise that that will always be true. So, the system is changing all the time. Word is changing. So I'm not recommending that. But you see how this process works and what the procedure is. Thank you, folks. I hope that you learned a lot through this video, and I hope you found it supportive. I appreciate your time, and I hope you're having fun as we're learning Word together. Thanks, folks.